In this lesson, we will look at adding Spring Internationalization to our charity registration Jakarta JEE8 web application, which means we will present the web app in the language of the user's country or region wherever possible, with English as the default. Why would we want to use Spring Internationalization? It prevents a unified internationalization approach across all application layers. It provides us with enhanced message formatting and locale management capabilities, and it seamlessly integrates with other Spring components and simplifies internationalization tasks. On implementing the Spring Internationalization in Jakarta Enterprise Edition 8, we add the dependencies and configure MessageSource and LocaleResolver beans. We use the Spring MessageSource to retrieve localized messages in controllers and services. If you work on an application that has pure Java internationalization, you can migrate your existing resource bundles by configuring ResourceBundleMessageSource with the appropriate base names, or of course create new ones. Then you'll update the controllers and the services to leverage Spring's MessageSource for localized message retrieval. And on adapting the front end, you can use Spring's templating solution. And now it's time to go over to the course documentation. And in the course documentation, we go down to the Spring Framework Enterprise Development. And then in this overview, we select using Spring Internationalization in our JEE web app. So here is our course overview. Why would you want to use Spring Internationalization in a Jakarta Enterprise 8 web app? It gives us a unified approach across various layers of the application. It provides consistent handling of messages, formatting, and locale management. It also provides us with advanced features such as message formatting, including message format support for dynamic message argument. It provides us ease of use with the abstractions and APIs such as MessageSource and LocaleResolver, which simplifies the task and enhances the ease of use. It gives us integration with other aspects of the Spring application, and it provides a seamless and integrated experience. Now, when we look at the existing Jakarta Enterprise 8 internationalization provided with JSTL and JSP, we get standard features with formatting tags to handle localization and formatting. For straightforward, non-complicated application, the standard internationalization features may suffice, as they are built-in and easy to use, but it's limited in the advanced features, and it's less flexible and powerful, particularly when handling complex formatting or message sources. Now, how would we use Spring Internationalization APIs in our Jakarta Enterprise 8 web app? First, we will add the Spring dependencies to our Maven POM file. We will configure a message source and define a ResourceBundleMessageSource bean in our configuration to handle messages from ResourceBundle. We will configure a LocaleResolver to handle locale determination using Session LocaleResolver for session-based locale tracker. In other words, it helps us figure out where the user is accessing our site from. It gives us access to messages using the message source to retrieve the localized messages in our controller and services. Now for the existing Jakarta internationalization with JSTL and JSP. We can use the formatting tags in our JSP to handle localization and formatting, and we access resource bundles directly in JSP using JSTL tags like format message. How do we configure Spring Internationalization in our Jakarta Enterprise 8 web app? We configure the resource bundle message source bean in our Spring configuration. We configure the locale resolver bean, such as session locale resolver or cookie locale resolver, to manage the current locale. We add a locale chains interceptor to allow users to change their locale based on a request parameter. For the existing internationalization with JSTL and JSP, we would set the locale in our web XML or another file. We would place resource bundles in appropriate locations, such as source main resources, and we use the JSTL format tags in JSP. Format dates, numbers, and messages based on the locale. Now here is a more detailed overview on how to add Spring Internationalization to an existing Jakarta Enterprise 8 web app with no prior internationalization present, which is not our case. So I will leave this more for self-study in case that is your case. That would be our overview. Now it's finally time to go to Eclipse, and we'll start with our pom.xml. Look at the Spring framework version. We've added the Spring context. We already have the web MVC, OXM, and the WebSocket. Now we go to our root context configuration, and in our root context configuration we add the message source in which we define a reloadable resource bundle message source. Set the cache, we set the default encoding, and we set the base names where we will load our strings from in the webinf i18n directory. Here is all the errors, here is all the message. And as we look back, we see we've done a previous exercise where we used the regular Jakarta Enterprise 8 internationalization. So here in our previous charity registration project, which is not a Spring project, we have the different messages in different languages and locations, and in our JSP pages we have the format message with the key of the value we want to display in the JSP page. And now we'll go back to our Spring MVC service layer example. In our servlet context configuration class, we add a locale resolver for locale resolution, and we use the one provided by Spring. If we look at our root configuration class, we see in our message source the location of titles, messages, and errors for internationalization. And if we look at that location, we see we have the ZA for South Africa, the US, United States, and we have English, US, English, South Africa, and Afrikaans, South Africa. In order to figure out which properties files we pick up, we add some indicators so that we know which version of the property file we pick up for South Africa. Just an indicator of ZA and also an indicator of ZA. Now, in order to test our location, we gotta have to set that in our browser. So in Brave, we go to Settings, Languages. So here we set our Brave languages to start with English South Africa, and then do English United States, and then do Afrikaans, and then do Standard English. Back in Eclipse, so Because our browser is set to South African English, we expect to see this login message. So let's run our app. And our marker shows up, which means we picked up the South African English messages for our user interface. That is our demonstration and overview. Feel free to play around with your own region and languages that you know. That concludes this tutorial. I will see you in the next one.